What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's Hero World Challenge, but that's not all. Two big announcements here. First off, I'm not only going to do the Hero World Challenge preview right now, but I'm also going to do the DP World Tour event and the Asian Tour event. There's three really good events this week. It's a little bit of a trial. I don't know how this is going to come out, but those other two events will be after the Hero preview. Same video, they'll just be at the end of this. I am looking for your feedback. Are you interested in this? Do you want other tours? I think the game's very global right now. I think it's nice to use all the information and all the tools. Let me know what you think about that. I'm looking for feedback, structure, style, anything you want. Leave it in the comments, email me, tweet at me, all that fun stuff. The second item is, and we're off to a pretty good start here, but the second item is a reminder that the World Championship one and done, that's what we're calling it on Splash, the $500,000 guarantee one and done for us, Rick Run Good, the Run Good community. It's live. We've got the first 100 entries rolling in. This does not start until January 30th. I would love to fill this ASAP. It's $500,000 guaranteed. So someone is going to win someone's going to win $50,000 off their $150 entry this year. It's crazy. 3 people are going to make 5 figures. I worked really hard on not only these payouts, how flat they are, but still getting a top prize that's 10%, getting the segment payouts. This is what I think is a really, really well-structured one and done. Worked hard with Splash to get this done. They put the money up. I would like to fill this as soon as possible so that we can say next year, we want $1 million. We want $1.5 million. We want whatever. That will go a long way. If you cannot wait until January 30th, the tiers, our weekly listener league, is live as well. This is already 25% full and it's Monday morning. So this will fill quickly. That is also guaranteed. So this is just a $20 entry. You pick one golfer from each of 6 tiers, and somebody's going to win $700 off of that $20 entry. Again, if we fill this early, and we've done a good job of filling these, we've gotten these up to, I think we had 500 or 1,000 people guaranteed in our Masters one for last year or something like that. So we can continue to grow these as well. All the links that you need are in the description. Otherwise, let's jump right into this. Hero World Challenge, Albany Golf Club. This is very unique. There are only 20 golfers in the field. It is no cut. So you are going to be rostering nearly a third of every single player in the field when you make your lineups. And they're all, barring a withdrawal or a disqualification, going to play 4 rounds. This course is kind of interesting. It's pretty easy, but we've seen guys cough it up, especially around the greens. And of course, I want to caveat, the regression model for this week, it's only 20 players. They're usually 20 of the top-ish 40 players in the world, depending on OWGR. There's usually a good mix of nationalities because it is a, quote, world challenge. That's part of this as well. And we only get it once a year. It's difficult to do a regression model on this amount of data, but strokes gained around the green technically popped up as the number 1 stat, which means there's no other course on the schedule in which strokes gained around the green is more correlated to success than here at Albany. Which isn't this where Sam Burns coughed it up around the green or tried to? I don't know if he actually did. Colin Morikawa coughed it up around the greens around here, right? We've seen that happen. So I'm not overly surprised, but I'm not putting a huge emphasis on the course key stats for this week. What I'm really doing is I'm going to the cheat sheet and I'm just going to look at this and we're just going to break this down because I'll tell you what, we've got 3 golfers over $10,000. Scotty Scheffler leads the way. Let me zoom in on this a little bit just so you guys can see it a little bit better. If you have watched 1 second of golf in the last 2 years, you will know that Scotty Scheffler is the best player in the world, and it's not particularly close. He's $11,900. If you go to some of the full screen stuff, he was $11,600 at the President's Cup, completely different format. He has not been sub $12,000 since the Arnold Palmer Invitational in March. He won that event, right? That was the first of his back-to-backs, his first set of back-to-backs, where he went API win, Players win. He would go back-to-back at Masters in Harbour Town just a month later. So I don't think I need to sell you on the price on Scottie Scheffler. For DFS purposes, I think he's probably a must play. For betting purposes, because I saw he's like 2-1 or 3-1, that's a little bit of a different story. But the salary never really matches up to how good of a player he is. Finished runner-up in 2021, runner-up in 2022. He won this event last year. He is the defending champion. The other thing to note, I'm going to write about this in my newsletter, RickRunGood.com/newsletter. Link is in the description. 100% free. I email it out every single week. I'm going to write about, I think this field is about as weak of a Hero World Challenge field as we've seen in quite some time. Only 3 of the top 10 players in the world, that's Cantlay, Ludwig, and of course, Scottie Scheffler. You've got noticeably absent Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, who's won this event twice. Jordan Spieth's out with the injuries. I think he's won this event. I think he's finished dead last in this event. Did I say Colin Morikawa? Xander Schauffele, not here. Rory doesn't usually play this event, but he's not here. It just feels weaker to me. And then you've got Cantlay, who didn't really, he is one of the top players. He didn't really have a great 2024. Ludwig is 1 start back from his injury. Justin Thomas just had a baby. There's a lot of question marks in this field. I think that Scottie Scheffler is the best player, and it is not particularly close. If you start looking at what he's done, especially in no-cut events, and no-cut events are, the cream rising to the top here. He just wins them all. I tweeted this out. He's won 5 of the last 12 no-cut events on the PGA Tour schedule. That's insane, right? That's Tour Championship, Olympics, Travelers was, right? Because that was a signature event. I don't know if the Memorial was. I can't remember. Hero World Challenge, API. API was? The signature events and them switching really throws me off. But I will tell you, he's won 5 of the last 12 no-cut events on the PGA Tour. It's crazy. He's crazy. He's amazing. I guess I'm done selling you here, just like whatever you can get. Of the others, Cantlay and Ludwig here, I think are worth diving into both of them. I'll be interested to see, and we'll know this as the week goes on, especially by the time we get to the Wednesday live chat, what the projected ownerships of these guys are going to be. Cantlay was pretty darn good at the President's Cup. The strokes gained is always a little bit wonky, but I have him really playing well in like 4 of the 5 rounds that he played. You look back at the playoffs, he wasn't bad. He was good. Even at the end of the season, I think he was good, not great. Didn't really play a lot. Didn't play a lot of golf. I know he's been involved in the negotiations with PIF and whatnot, but this is a really interesting spot to maybe grab him if he is significantly lower owned. Then I'm interested to see what people do with Ludwig, right? Ludwig played the RSM Classic, 2 really good rounds, 2 really bad rounds, still coming back from injury. I thought he looked pretty darn good. I've seen enough. This is going to be his first time teeing it up at the Hero World Challenge. I mean, obviously just turned professional, a year ago, less than a year ago. It's maybe it's been a year, I guess, maybe a year and a half. I don't remember. Time is a flat circle at this point, but I'd be interested to see. I think that Scottie is by far in a tier of his own. But what is everybody else going to do with the rest of these guys? That's what we're going to have to keep an eye out for. The 9K range is small. It's only Justin Thomas and Sam Burns. So I guess I could probably talk about every single golfer in this field. There's only 20 of them. JT and his wife just had a baby. He finished T2 at the Zozo Championship. I believe baby Thomas arrived after the Zozo. Don't quote me on that, but I am pretty sure. There are really good signs coming out of Justin Thomas camp right now. The signs are that he is basically back to vintage JT, which means that he is going to be a gainer off the tee. Not a lot, half a stroke to a stroke over 4 rounds. He might be back to being an elite second shot player. He picked up 8 strokes on approach at the Zozo Championship. He's now gained there in 5 straight, in 6 out of 7, in 11 out of 12. Around the green, back to being one of the best in the world. since the Valspar, he's not lost strokes around the green. He's picking up 1, 2, 3 over the course of 4 rounds, and he's a bad putter. That is vintage JT. He is one of the few guys that in his career has been able to win golf tournaments losing strokes putting. He did it at the FedEx St. Jude in 2020. It's very rare to do. You even see some of his other wins, 1.6 on the positive, 0.8 on the positive. He does not need a +3 week to putting to win. Now, if he gets it, he's certainly going to be in contention. So I think there's a lot of good stuff here. His history at Albany is very good. Obviously, he plays a lot with the ties to Tiger, but his last 4 are T5, 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 third. And we know that he is, along with Scotty Scheffler, one of the best no-cut players that we've had on the PGA Tour since about 2020. So really good stuff there from JT. I was hoping, because he was technically a sponsor's invite into this, right? Because Tiger gave I think it was Nick Dunlap and Sepp Straka the last 3 spots into this field. I was hoping we were going to get maybe an $8,300, an $8,000 Justin Thomas, a little hide on him. No, just right there is the 4th most expensive golfer. Sam Burns, looking at his stuff, I think it's fine. His history around here, the T3 in 2021, I think that's the one that he coughed up. Does that sound right? I could be confusing it with another tropical-ish event, but that feels like he had a multiple shot lead and coughed it up with some shots around the green. That feels like something to me. 12th in 2022, 16th in 2023. So those are certainly not good results. I think I would much prefer JT here and probably just skip Sam Burns for the time being. Of course, we can almost play everybody, but we cannot play everyone. We're in the 8K range now, and I think we can probably be loading up on these 3: Russell Henley, Tom Kim, Wyndham Clark. If we just start looking at this from a statistical standpoint, everybody in this field in the 2024 season, Russell Henley is 3rd in terms of raw strokes gained behind Scotty Scheffler and Ludwig Åberg. Russell Henley is the 3rd man of 3 who have gained at least 1 stroke per round in 2024. Really impressive stuff. If you look at the trends tool, this looks at a golfer's 36 round or whatever round you want, but I'm going with 36 rounds, and then comparing it to their 100 round baseline shows you where they're trending. Look at number 3 and number 4 here. That's Tom Kim and Russell Henley. Both in this range are trending about a half a stroke or 3/4 of a stroke per round over their baseline, and both doing it in the best possible way from tee to green, but really on approach, not with the putter. Right? Those are 2 really good signs. I'll pull up their profiles in a second. Wyndham Clark is like 7th or 8th on this list. He's actually trending into a better position than Ludwig is. Ludwig, though, is 100 round baseline, probably a little bit better than Wyndham Clark's, but you get what I'm saying here. The trends are really strong for these 3. So let's look at them individually. The Russell Henley being one of the best players in 2024 is not a joke. It comes without any victories. It comes with a bunch of kind of top 15 finishes. Now in this field, a top 15 is not going to get you much, but certainly within the realm of possibilities that he finishes inside the top 5 because he's one of the best ball strikers. He really only loses strokes off the tee, and it's because of inaccuracies, not always so much because of distance, but this is still like a resort style golf course. You're not going to get beat up off the tee around here. And then look at the way he fills it up with the putter. This is all really, really good stuff. Wyndham Clark, I'm going to skip Tom Kim for a second. Wyndham Clark, as always, high risk, high reward, right? I think we have seen him finish. Yeah, I thought it was last. It was 2nd to last at this event, which was at the end of 2023. Now, he was not playing as well going into this, I believe. I believe that was a little bit of a slump that he was in. Let's see, end of 2023. Yeah, he had really struggled, wasn't good at the Ryder Cup, wasn't good at the Andalusia Masters, wasn't good at the Hero, and he wasn't particularly good at the Century. Kind of started to get a little bit better, and then he would go on to win at Pebble. His summer was kind of all over the place. We are seeing better play since the Olympics, even since the Travelers. Misses the cut at the Open, ugly, not going to beat him up for that. I never beat up anybody for missed cuts at the Open. Bunch of top 15s, kind of got us, wasn't very good at the President's Cup and got a W for it. doesn't mean much to me. So high risk, high reward. Tom Kim, however, I'm buying 2025 Tom Kim. Okay. I don't care that he missed the cut in Hong Kong. That was an Asian Tour event. He finished runner-up in Korea the start before that. So again, this is a pretty good ad for RickRunGood.com. If you're only looking at PGA Tour stats, you're missing Tom Kim's last 2 starts. One's a runner-up finish, one's a missed cut. I think that when Tom Kim is going well, he is kind of a light-ish version of Justin Thomas. Really strong approach player, which is what we've seen all the way since the Canadian Open. We know he can be one of the best putters. He's been a little bit erratic recently, but we know he can be one of the best putters. Needs to improve his short game, needs to just not cough. He needs to be a 0 this week around the green, and he needs to be like a +1 off the tee. That is a path for him, contending and playing well. He finished T10 here last year, or 2 years ago. Wow, Tom Kim he's played this 2 years ago. That's wild to me. I guess that was when things were just nuts for him, and I think he had won 2 of his previous 8 starts. Just really, really crazy. So I like what I'm seeing out of Tom Kim. I like that he played a couple of events in the fall, or an event in the fall, and I like that he played the European Tour, the Asian Tour. I like that. And now back in Florida and ready to rock and roll. The 7K range and the 6K range, I'm going to kind of lump them together here. I think this is where the softness really starts to show itself. I think we're missing 2 to 3 studs in this field that we would normally have. Call it Victor, call it Xander, and then call it a half a Jordan Spieth or something like that. And Colin Moore, you're missing like 2.5 to 3.5 stars in this field. And then this portion of the board is not particularly strong. And I'm saying that relative to previous iterations of this event. These guys are great players, but relative to previous iterations. So what are we doing here? I think there are some buy spots. I think buying on Sahith, who is $7,300, I think is valuable. The maturation process that we've seen from him over the last 2 years is nothing short of incredible. He did not play well at the Zozo, didn't play well at the President's Cup. Did have a very strong season outside of that. I think that he's proven it doesn't really matter what golf course it is. It doesn't really matter if it fits him on paper. If he's got it that week, he's got it. Then we start looking at the rest of this board. I think a couple of things. I actually kind of like the bottom more than anything else. That's Dunlap, Sepp Straka, Matthew Pavone, the 3 cheapest golfers in this field. Nick Dunlap. So there's something really interesting happening with Nick Dunlap. He's about to be a top 12 player in the world. And that is partly because of how good he is, but it's also partly because of the OWGR system. So he is, I don't know if anybody cares about this, but he is currently using a divisor of 40, which means for his calculation, he's played 40 events. Well, he's really only played 25 events. So if he were to brick and get 0 OWGR points over the course of his next 15 starts, that he would be in the same spot. He's obviously not going to do that, right? He's going to get free points this week as long as he finishes. He's going to be in all the signature and elevated events. He's going to be in the major championships. The way that this runs is that probably within the next 15 events, Nick Dunlap is going to be a top 15 player in the world. Just keep an eye on. We saw Ludwig do the same thing, right? Because of the divisor system. So anyway, long story short, this is a golfer that we haven't seen since the Sanderson Farms. The last 3 times we saw him, he picked up 5.5 strokes on approach in 2 of those. We've got a putting problem, right? Not incapable of being able to roll the rock, but it can be troublesome. I think when you give 4 guaranteed rounds and there's no cut and he's $6,400, you're really not asking for all that much. That becomes interesting. Sepp Straka is very good. Right. Sepp Straka is a very good golfer. His year was good. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was horrible. I don't think it was even average. I think it was very good. Couple of T5s there in the summer, bunch of top 25, bunch of top 30 finishes. Generally a good tee to green player. He had this slump here, which was basically during the playoffs where he slumped from tee to green, then started to figure it out again at the Spanish Open, played well enough at the RSM Classic. He did miss the cut there, but actually picked up 2 strokes to the field. That is a course rotation issue, and he got the wrong end of the draw there. That's actually a good, I mean, it's a good thing, right? And so now in four of his last 5 starts, he's picked up at least 2.5 strokes to the field. One of them was during a missed cut. That's pretty nuts. So I like the way the Sepp Straka sets up. And then what we saw from Matthew Pavone is something rare. He tweeted out that he's leaving his swing coach. We don't usually get like official announcements like this. So Pavone is leaving his swing coach and he's going to Mark Blackburn, who is generally considered a top 1, 2, or 3 coach in the world. I believe Golf Digest actually had him at number 1. Was it Golf Digest? But that is, for professionals versus, other teaching pros, but big, great clientele base. Sometimes we get a spark from guys like that. And I like Pavone's game. After his 2024 started so good with the 7th in Hawaii, the win at Torrey, the 3rd at Pebble, and then it was just nothing. And I'm wondering if just a little bit of a spark, a little bit of a change of voice goes a long way, because he clearly has the upside to contend. So the bottom 3, I think, offer a lot of salary cap relief to maybe get you a Scotty Scheffler and somebody else near the top of the board. Outside of that, Bhatia, Akshay loves a good tropical location, right? We know that. $6,700. Those are really my favorites. If you made me choose, like, Keegan would probably be another one. I'll be interested to see what the custom model says, right? So what I want to do here is I want to do what we should probably go. See, I'm kind of torn between going last 24 rounds, something shorter term, or resetting a lot of guys and going to last 100. Let's do 24. Let's try that. And we'll say strokes gain total, last 24 for 25. And then what I might also do, I think that's pretty fair. Now what we'll do is I do want to put course history on here a little bit. So we'll put 15 on course history. The good news is it's been the same course. It is always like an 18 to 20 person field, and there's always no cut. So there are reasons to be excited about or to be interested in that. I'm also going to do a couple of other things here. I'm going to do birdies are better gained for 15. I'm going to do strokes gained 3 or more for 20. I think that when you're guaranteed, normally I would do like 4 or 5. When you are guaranteed 4 rounds, I'm willing to knock it down a little bit, because you are going to get those 3rd and 4th rounds guaranteed. So I'm going to put 20 there. I'm trying to think what else. We could follow the model a little bit and say, okay, strokes gained around the green, last 24, put 10 there. That leaves us with 15. I guess I could do putting on Bermuda, right? TIF Eagle Bermuda, if I remember correctly. Where's my key stats? Right here. TIF Eagle Bermuda. Could do that. That wouldn't be horrible. Let's do it. Let's just do it. 15 is what we have left. That makes my number 1 golfer. Yeah, no surprise. There's no way I was going to be able to make anything that wasn't Scotty Scheffler. Look who are 2, 3, and 4. These are guys I'm not particularly high on. Sam Burns, Jason Day, and Patrick Cantlay. Very surprising to me. Maybe I should have more exposure to those guys. Look who's 5. Nick Dunlap. I'm telling you, I think this is a pretty good spot for him. Tom Kim is 6. Justin Thomas is 7. Who's last? Aaron Rye. Yeah. Kind of stinks, doesn't it? Interesting. Okay. Interesting to see Ludwig down at 10. Interesting to see Sam Burns up at 2 and Jason Day up at 3. Wow. Okay. Well, we've got work to do. We're not done here just yet. This will conclude the PGA version, but we've got more tours to talk about. Again, let me know what you think about this, but let's keep rolling. Let's turn our attention to the European Tour here. This is the Nedbank Golf Challenge. This starts the 2-week swing in South Africa for the European Tour. And there's a pretty decent field here. So if you look at some of the names kind of longer term, Will Zalatoris is in this field. Max Homa is in this field. Jordan Smith, who else? Eric Van Rooyen, Mackenzie Hughes, Christian Bezuidenhout, those guys that you might recognize. Corey Connors, obviously from the PGA Tour, and then also a lot of the best European Tour golfers as well. So a pretty decent field. What I do want to point out here is that they're playing at Gary Player Country Club, which has been used for not only the Nedbank Golf Challenge, but also the South African Open. So if you see that, that's what's going on here for like Christian Bezuidenhout, for example. So in 2020, there was no Nedbank Golf Challenge. The South African Open, however, did get played. I believe it was travel restricted. So there's a huge number from Christian Bezuidenhout here. Gained 26 strokes to the field that week and won the event. And he won by 5 shots. It was a lot of just South African players, many that missed the cut, had shot like in the 80s. So it was very different than what you're going to see this week, but that's why some of these numbers are eye-popping. So I did want to point that out as we were getting into the cheat sheet here. And I think for our purposes, and I don't know if DraftKings is going to release salaries for this, so I'm not going to wait. Last week I was waiting for the Australian Open stuff to come out. It never came out, so I'm not going to wait. We'll just look through this together. If you change from raw strokes gained to weighted strokes gained and then sort, this is where you're going to see guys that play primarily that PGA Tour schedule that are getting the benefit of the doubt for playing better on a better tour. So you'll see the top 3 are now Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes, and Christian Bezuidenhout as 1, 2, and 3 in terms of weighted strokes gained total over the last 36 rounds. So let's look at Bezuidenhout real quick. He has one here. He has one at this golf course. He has finished 5th at this tournament. And of course, he is one of the more talented PGA Tour players that we have. It has not been a good run for him. He always loses strokes off the tee, but he is losing strokes in a big way off the tee. The putter has not really figured itself out, and that's his strong suit. I do think that there is an opportunity to reset him a little bit, right? This is, it's been since the President's Cup since we've seen him, so going on 2 months or so, that he can probably get back to putting it well. He's probably likely to gain strokes from tee to green, but it's going to depend on the price that we are being asked to pay. I actually think that somebody like Mackenzie Hughes, who has flashed greatness a couple of times since the last time we've seen Bezuidenhout, right? So the President's Cup was a little bit all over the place for Hughes. He had a couple of good sessions, couple of bad sessions. Overall, it was decent. Then he played well at the Sanderson Farms T8 there, made the cut in Bermuda, and then finished T5 at the RSM Classic. So he's played 3 times since Bezuidenhout has last played. 2 of them have been really good. And then his fall in general, Hughes' fall in general has been positive. He is a volatile option, right? I think his floor is lower than somebody like Corey Connors. I think his ceiling might be higher than somebody like Corey Connors, because if you look at Corey here, I did not think that he was very impressive at the President's Cup, though the stats speak differently. His second match was really good. His Sunday singles was good. The rest of his President's Cup was not very good, and he played all 5 sessions. But we did see decent play from him coming down the stretch. He hasn't played a whole lot, and I believe this is going to be the first time that he tees it up at this tournament. It is. So probably going like Hughes, Connors, Bezuidenhout at the top of the board here. And then we're just going to load up on some of these guys that have played well on the European Tour. This is just part of the schedule for them. You've heard me speak about these guys a lot. Jordan Smith, Nicholas Norgard. You might see him as Nicholas Norgard Moeller listed in some places, but this dude is legit. I talk about him basically every single time he tees it up. The driving numbers are insane. He's a very strong putter. He's just a very good player in general. And I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe he is going to be a PGA Tour member next year. I believe he was one of the top 10 from the DP World Tour to get his tour card. So interested to see how he plays the rest of 2024 before he starts his 2025 schedule. Some of the sneakier options I think are Thorbjorn Olesen, who also played his way into a PGA Tour card. So after the Wyndham Championship, he's played 9 different events. He's basically teed it up every single week, a bunch of top 12, top 10 finishes in there, no victories, but this is a really solid, well-rounded stat profile. I mentioned this in one of my newsletters, but Alex Fitzpatrick is having and had a better 2024 than Matt Fitzpatrick, and it wasn't even close. You look at what he did playing a primarily DP World Tour schedule. The tee to green play is really strong. The putter can pick up 3 or 4. It can also be his trouble spot, but I'm not too worried about that. He is clearly maturing in a big way, and this is going to be probably the weakest field that he's played in. So DP World Tour Championship was definitely stronger. Abu Dhabi was almost certainly stronger. French Open probably stronger as well. So this is going to be a pretty good opportunity for him to beat up on a little bit of a weaker field. And then remember Thomas Dietrich, right? Remember this guy who was a fall darling. Was that last year? And then earned a tour card, played decent, bunch of top 25s, never won anything. And I think people got a little bit left off the shiny object. Very good around the greens, very good short game. If you look at his history at this tournament, so he finished 7th in 2018, 3rd in 2019. Remember, this wasn't played in 2020 or 2021, I believe. And then I'll confirm that, but I believe they missed 2 years of this event and then finished T13 in 2022. So his history around both Gary Player and the Nedbank Golf Challenge is probably unrivaled for anybody in this field. I did confirm I was correct. So they missed this event in 2020 and 2021. I'll give you one more here. Francesco Laporta, who makes a run to the DP World Tour Championship, doesn't play particularly well. He finishes 45th out of a field of 50, I believe. The good news there is he still picked up 2 strokes on approach. So he's picked up strokes on approach in 7 in a row, 8 of 9. Very solid ball striker, very solid off the tee. He lost 8 strokes putting. That's unlikely to happen again. It's probably the worst putting performance that I have measured in his career. The answer to that is, at least for the last couple of years, yeah. So, well, did he really lose 17 strokes putting at the Indian Open? No, that does not look right. That looks like something the DP World Tour sent over that was a little bit inaccurate. But long story short, it is unlikely for him to lose that many strokes putting again. And I think that he's somebody that has a lot of juice to squeeze out of an opportunity to bounce back here. Now for the PIF Saudi, I believe they're calling it the Saudi International. This is not to be confused with the Saudi Open, though both are played at the Riyadh Golf Club. So they played the Saudi Open. This is an Asian tour event. They played the Saudi Open in April. So there are guys who played this event or a similar event at this golf course 8 months ago. What you are seeing here is basically a live golf event and then a bunch of Asian tour guys. And this is how the live golf guys get their OWGR points. You'll see a lot of these players, somebody like Patrick Reed, who played Asian tour events, played in some of the international series events this year. David Pugh, the young guy, same thing. This is, I don't know if it's part of their contracts that they have to play in these Saudi events, but it would seem likely. I think there's 42 golfers from live who are playing in this field of 120. And then there's a pretty significant drop off between the top players and then the Asian tour players. So first and foremost, Terrell Hatton, I don't care what tour it has been on, has been one of the best players in the world this year. You look at what he's done on live golf. He won in Nashville. You look at what he did on the DP World Tour. He won the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship in October. You look at what he did at major championships. He had a top 10 at the Masters, made the cut at 3 of them. A T26 at the US Open was his second best finish, and is playing some of the best golf that he's probably played in his career right now. And that's across the globe. It doesn't really matter what tour, doesn't really matter the competition. I think it is warranted, and I haven't seen the numbers yet, but I imagine that he is going to be the favorite to win this event. If I flip this to weighted strokes gained tee to green, you are going to see a couple other interesting options. Joaquin Niemann, I feel like it's been a bit under the radar, but has played has played solid golf. You'll see he played not the Asian Tour events, but he played the European Tour events the last handful of weeks. And if this isn't like the greatest ad for RickRunGood.com, I don't know what is, right? We're talking about golfers who play across all these tours. If you're only looking at PGA Tour stuff, you have a huge gap in what you're seeing. So played 3 European Tour events, finished top 7 in each of his last 2, the DP World Tour Championship, and then just last week at the Australian Open. We don't have the strokes game breakdown for the Australian Open, but T5 there, drove it really well, basically all summer long, all year long. He also won on Live this year. So there's a lot of strong reasons for Hatton and Neiman to probably be 1 and 2 in this field. The other thing to consider here. So you've got a couple of players who have played at Riyadh. Let me pull this up for the Saudi Open. So somebody like John Catlin, for example. So he won, I believe. Let's pull this up here. The Saudi Open in April. Okay. So he's played 4 rounds at this golf course, was a winner there. Peter Uihlein, I'll show you his stat profile here in a second, finished T3 in April, and look at what he just did. Okay. He just won the International Series in Qatar last week. So he has now won 2 different International Series events, Asian Tour events, in the last 4 months. He won International Series in England. He won International Series in Qatar, played decent at the Alfred Dunhill Links and his final couple of events of Live Golf. So he's playing phenomenal right now and also has a decent history. I shouldn't say decent. It's a good history. It's a small history, but it is a decent history at this event. Really interested to see what happens with Norman Zhang, right? I talk about Norm all the time. I think this is the first time he's ever played an Asian Tour event. Corn Ferry guy, kind of bounces back and forth with status, got his tour card because of the win and the deep run last year on the Corn Ferry. PGA Tour season did not go well for him. I don't know if he has his card for 2025. And I believe this is the first time he's ever played an Asian Tour event. So I guess I can figure that out. I don't have to guess. Has he ever? No, he's never played an Asian Tour event. Okay. So this is going to be his first time. So really interested to see how he compares against what is probably going to be one of the weaker fields that he's played against in quite some time. Goes without saying, if you didn't notice it, Patrick Reed shot a 59 a couple of weeks ago. It was not technically the course record because it was under lift clean in place. It was under preferred lies, but he did win the Hong Kong Open. He also plays a lot of these Asian events, International Series events, finished 4th in Macau earlier this year, won in Hong Kong, finished 13th last week in Qatar. So he's been all over the place and playing decent. So then you get to a couple of guys that are really just Asian Tour players. So Miguel Tabuena, I believe is how he pronounces this. We'll look at his results here. So he has played an entirely Asian Tour schedule, finished 3rd in Qatar, 8th in Hong Kong. Remember, those events were won by Peter Uihlein, Patrick Reed. I mean, he's playing every single one of these events, a ton of top 10 finishes. He did win last year. He won last year in Delhi. His 2024 has not provided a victory yet, but a lot of really good finishes there. Then also, remember Saddam Kajana, I believe is how he pronounces this. I think that he was on Live at some point. He was, right. So he was on Live, I believe, the first year as they were rounding out the roster, or at least in 2022. Did not go well. I don't know if he was not invited back or whatever, but it seems to be much more comfortable on the Asian Tour, not only in 2022, but in 2023, you see a lot of really good top 10 finishes. And then recently, all of those same events, I mean, he's on a streak of 5 consecutive top 20 finishes. He has a top 20 finish in 7 of his last 8, and the worst finish during that stretch is a T29 in Macau. I'm interested to see the way that he is priced or what the odds are for him to, say, finish inside the top 10 or something like that. So Saddam Kajana. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then finally, Mark Leishman. I think Leishman is kind of interesting. Not super interesting, but just enough interesting to spend 5 seconds talking about him. Played well at the Australian Open, probably not a surprise. Going to be really comfortable there. Played well in Singapore, played well in Miami. He was obviously on Ripper GC, which won the whole thing. Played well at Greenbrier. A lot of different types of courses. Has he played at Gary Player before? Does not look like it. Okay, so he's played this event twice, but that was at Royal Greens. So he finished 28th and 6th in his 2 trips, but this is, or I'm sorry, what did I say? I said Gary Player, but I meant Riyadh. Let me see if he's played at Riyadh. Does not look like it. Okay. So interesting. Again, this stuff is pretty dependent on the pricing, if it ever comes out, or the odds and stuff like that. But I did want to at least point out a couple of golfers and talk about these fields a bit. All right, that'll do it. Go make sure to sign up for the Splash One and Done link in the description for everything that you need. If you enjoyed the multiple tours, let me know. Something that hopefully I can do more in the future. I've got all the data. I've got all the information. Might as well use it, right? So let me know if that was cool. And best of luck this week. I'll talk to you guys soon.